The air in the small, stifling room on the 8th floor of the dilapidated apartment building in Kuala Lumpur hung heavy, a constant shroud of humidity and despair. 10-year-old Rizky was a ghost within its confines, his existence a stark testament to the cruelty of his captors, his own parents. His once bright eyes were now sunken hollows in a skeletal face, a map of purple bruises and fading scars adorning his frail body. Food, when it came, was a meager scattering of stale leftovers, flung unceremoniously into his room, barely enough to keep the flickering flame of life within him. He was a prisoner in the sky, his world shrinking to the grimy window, overlooking a bustling city he could only dream of. One sweltering afternoon, a sweet, unfamiliar sound cut through the suffocating silence. A small, vibrant sunbird landed on his windowsill, its tiny head cocked, its bright eyes studying him with an unnerving curiosity. Loneliness, a constant companion, bubbled to the surface, and Risky, desperate for any connection, whispered to the creature. His voice, hoarse from disuse, was too loud, too sudden. The bird, startled, darted away, a flash of emerald and gold disappearing into the verdant canopy of a nearby rain tree. Days bled into weeks, each one a relentless cycle of hunger, pain, and isolation. But a new ritual began. Every morning, just as the first rays of the Malaysian sun pierced the dawn, the sunbird would return. It perched on the windowsill, its melodious chirps a gentle serenade, its gaze fixed on Risky. It was a tiny beacon of hope in his bleak existence, a promise that the world beyond his window still existed. He began to anticipate its arrival, a faint, fleeting smile touching his lips, the only true smile he had known in what felt like an eternity. As the weeks stretched into months, Risky's body waged a losing battle against severe malnutrition. He was a fragile stick figure, his bones jutting sharply beneath translucent skin. The bruises, constant reminders of his parents' rage, no longer healed, a testament to his body's failing defenses. Desperate, he'd meticulously scour the windowsill for tiny insects, ants, even the occasional brave spider, anything to stave off the gnawing hunger. In the humid Malaysian climate, insects were plentiful, yet they were a meager, unsatisfying feast. Then, a strange, miraculous thing began to happen. He started finding plump, segmented worms and small, juicy grubs on his windowsill. Creatures that belonged on the damp earth below, not 8 stories up. A spark of understanding ignited within him. The bird. It had to be the bird. Every morning, just before dawn, it was leaving these offerings. It was the first act of unsolicited kindness, of unconditional love he had ever experienced. It was a lifeline, thrown by a creature with wings to a boy whose own wings had been clipped long ago. The abuse, however, continued its relentless assault. One particularly brutal night, a blow to his legs left him unable to walk properly, his already weakened limbs refusing to bear his weight. He lay crumpled on the floor, the pain a dull ache that had become as familiar as his own breath. That night, for the first time, the sunbird returned in the darkness. Its small form was a dark silhouette against the moonlit window. And then a sound that transcended the realm of his waking nightmares. "Why do you stay in your cage?" the bird chirped, its voice surprisingly clear, though tinged with an innocent curiosity. "Why don't you fly away?" Risky stared, his eyes wide, with a mixture of disbelief and wonder. A shadow against the moonlight, the bird seemed to shimmer. "What do you mean?" he rasped, his voice barely a whisper. "The window is open," the bird replied, its head cocked. "There's nothing keeping you inside." "I can't fly," Rizky murmured, the words heavy with the lifetime of broken dreams. I've seen humans flying in the skies, the bird chirped, its tone earnest. I can teach you if you'd like, but we will have to wait until morning when the sun rises. Just follow my lead. With that, the bird took flight, disappearing into the velvety night. Risky, exhaustion finally claiming him, drifted into a fitful sleep, the bird's impossible words echoing in his mind. Dawn arrived, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. The tiny sunbird landed on the windowsill, its chirps a sweet, insistent melody. Risky's eyes fluttered open. A smile, fragile but real, touched his lips. Painfully, he pushed himself up, dragging his weakened body towards the window. The bird, sensing his approach, hopped a little to the side, revealing a small, clear space on the sill. Risky saw it as a sign. With a surge of desperate hope, he clambered onto the precarious pile of accumulated trash in his room, using it to hoist himself onto the windowsill. The sunbird, startled by his sudden movement, took flight. Risky, his heart pounding a frantic drum against his ribs, took it as his cue. He looked at the vast expanse of the sky, at the rising sun, and for the first time, he felt no fear. He took a breath, a deep, shuddering inhale, and stepped off the windowsill, launching himself into the open air. He was finally free,